What if you stopped treating your clients like transactions and started dating them instead? On today's episode of Profit with a Plan, we're sitting down with Mark Young, a CEO, entrepreneur, and author of Date Your Clients, to talk about the secret to building lasting, profitable client relationships. Mark brings decades of experience from business, advertising, even psychology to reveal why clients or seeing clients as people and not numbers changes everything, the power of consistent, tailored communication, and how investing long term relationships yields bigger returns. So, we'll definitely be asking him about something called the walk of shame as well, which is a chapter in his book. So, don't miss this episode. It might just change how you do business forever. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you working too hard for too little profit? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we help you scale smarter, increase profitability, and build a business that's worth more, whether you keep it or sell it. I'm Marcia Riner, business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to turn their businesses into highly profitable and sale ready assets so they enjoy more income now and a bigger payout later on. So join me for practical strategies, expert insights, and proven steps to make your business more profitable, more valuable, and built to last. But before we dive in, I've got something special for you. If you're feeling like you're doing everything right, but you're still not seeing the results you want, it might be time for a fresh perspective. That's why we're offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one powerful session, we'll uncover opportunities to drive real growth for your business. Ready to make that impact? Go visit profitbooster.biz. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Our guest is Mark Young. Mark knows that business success isn't just about the numbers, it's about the relationship. As an entrepreneur and CEO and author of Date Your Clients, his book explores how heartbreak, rejection, and even the walk of shame teaches us to build stronger, more loyal client relationships. He believes that clients just aren't transactions, but they're people, and the way we connect with them determines our long-term success. Mark challenges business owners to rethink the way they engage, communicate, and invest in their clients because just like dating, the right approach makes a big difference. All right, Mark, welcome to the show today.
I appreciate that, Marcia.
Yeah, so interesting enough, I've used dating your clients as a metaphor on many different instances, but really, truly, what triggered it? Was it the walk of shame? Did you have that really bad relationship that transitioned over? How did you come up with the idea?
You know what? I'd love to tell you that it was like this deep middle of the night epiphany, and it wasn't. Um, the truth of the matter is it was started off in a client's conference room, and the client we were actually doing some TV media for the client, and we were driving traffic to their website, and the client, it was the marketing director, and I'll say not so sophisticated in many ways.
Mm.
And she just kept saying, this TV's not working. It's the bad leads. The bounce rates on our website are so bad. They're just blah, blah, blah. And she went on and on and on. And I took her to her own website in the conference room. And I said, I want you to look at this website with me. I said, the amount of traffic continues to increase. It's the bounce rate you're having a problem with. And for anybody who doesn't know what a bounce rate is, it no longer is tracked in Google Analytics, but at the time, years ago, it was actually used to measure the number of people who went to your website but never went past the homepage. So
Mm.
they'd go to the homepage and then they would leave. And that was considered a bounce. That was a person who walked in the door, turned around, and walked back out before exploring anything further on the site. So I took her to her own homepage and I said, Fran is her name. And I said, Fran, like, I want to walk you through your own homepage here. I'm like, there is nothing left to learn about you. I
Oh.
said, your company, when I go there, it's like you gave me the history of the company, you gave me a list of all of your products, you gave me your features and benefits, you talked about your science, you gave me customer reviews, like everything's right there on the homepage. I'm like, it's not that you have a bounce rate problem, just everybody who leaves your website already knows everything there is to know. They've made a decision from the
Mm.
homepage because there's so much information there. And I said, look, it's kind of like a dating profile, right? I only put in 4 or 5 of my prettiest pictures and a little blurb about me, right? Like candlelight dinners, walks on the beach, this sort of stuff, right? Like the purpose of my homepage is like that dating profile, and you have to swipe right before you get to know anything else about me.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's what's happening. Nobody is swiping right because you have talked about your background and your family dysfunction and everything all on the homepage. Like it's all there. Like if on my dating profile, I literally put everything about me, every woman in town would make a decision as to whether or not she wanted to meet me based on that profile. And the only people who would ever swipe right were the people who matched all of those likes and dislikes. I'm like, and here's the problem. Nobody on this earth is going to like everything about me. Like I need to sell you the good stuff and then kind of resell you on the bad stuff. But that's not something that happens on a homepage. And she just wasn't following with me. And I kind of laughed. I said, well, tell you what, I'm going to go back to
How
my
could she
office.
miss that though? That it's like
It seems
maybe that
pretty
says
obvious
something
to
about
me.
her, right?
So I ended up taking that information back to my office and I started writing, and it's turned, so it was an email that I was sending to her, and with the email that I was sending to her, it turned into this giant long email, and I took it to my agency director and I said, take a look at this, man. Like tell me if this makes sense. And he's like, boss, like this is a white paper. And he's like, you need to just keep writing this. And I just kept writing, Marcia, and it literally turned into a book. And I'm not joking. This was an email that I ended up putting a cover on.
That's the craziest story I've ever heard. And it's brilliant though, because I mean, trying to explain and drawing it out, usually you can make so much of a better connection in person and showing examples. But when they're a little bit um dense is the only word I'm thinking of, where they're not open to hearing what you're saying, they've already got their
It was
preconceived
defensive.
notions built in, that an email would have to be the longest sales page in the world to get it across the point to her.
It is the longest sales page in the world. You got that
That's
correct.
fantastic.
Well,
That's
it was funny
fantastic.
because after that, literally the first chapter of the book is titled "Make Them Swipe Right," and it literally was the email.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, now I'm sitting on the edge of my seat to find out, did she take your advice or did she drop the
No,
agency?
no, she didn't drop the agency. We were doing their TV buying, like so the TV was driving the traffic. It
Mm,
was a conversion problem for them, but they
sure.
did eventually redo their website, which made a lot more sense. But yeah, trying to tell her that the media wasn't the problem; it was where you were sending them that was the problem.
Right.
But they just didn't want to hear it.
That's funny. That's funny. I love that story. It really connects
So
well
funny.
because so many people, I mean, let's just say the landing page or the website that has evolved so much from a, brain dump and to like 20 pages deep to one page back out to, a couple of pages, but it makes so much more sense that you got to engage them. You don't walk up to the bar and go, "Hey, let's get married," right? I just
Correct.
mentioned let's get married or buy my shit, right? It's more of a, what are you looking for? I understand the problems. I mean, you go through a whole sequence to keep
Absolutely.
them more engaged.
Well, and what's funny is like, that turned into the metaphor just kept growing because it was like, well, make them swipe right. Yeah, but once I make them swipe right, then what?
Mm,
And then the next chapter actually goes into you got to know your type. And I don't need to swipe on everybody because not everybody I'm not going to be interested in everybody. There are things, but whether it's physical attractions, whether it is, worldviews, politics, whatever, like we're not going to agree on everything. There's no
right.
reason for us to both go on a date if we're never going to see eye to eye on things, right?
Mm,
And there are some things that are just they're I'll say this, like every relationship I've ever been in, like I knew that if we didn't share a worldview, then we weren't going to be compatible. It didn't matter what else happened. And in some cases, and this, you laugh about the walk of shame, a later chapter, but in some cases, and I'll give you an example, like there have been relationships in my life where we got into a relationship and perhaps there was a deep physical attraction,
Sure.
or there was an attraction on another level, but we didn't share a lasting worldview. And it's like the urge to be in the relationship was so strong that I'm like, man, I wish I'd have never even gone on that first date, because this relationship's never going anywhere, but it's
Because you can't have a
stopping me.
conversation with that person
Correct.
because
But it
your views are so
100%.
opposite that it's always going to end up in a fight,
Oh,
and
it,
then the makeup happens.
yeah, totally. And then the problem is it keeps you it keeps you distracted from the relationship you could be in, or
Mm,
from meeting the other people that perhaps there's more compatibility with. And I think about I'm a big Friends fan. I don't know if you're a fan of the TV show Friends. I probably
yep.
watched it 100 times, but it's like I remember, if you remember when Monica was dating Tom Selleck, right? The Monica
Mm,
and Richard relationship. And she ended the relationship because she's like, look, you don't want to have children with me. And this is something I want. It's like everything was perfect, but that one thing was a breaking point.
exactly.
And Monica's like, look, I need to end this, because had she not ended that relationship, she never would have been with that person. And I mean, I laughingly make a Friends joke there, but not a joke, but a reference. But we all know those people, the couple that breaks up and everybody's like, yeah, that should have happened 2 years ago. And and the truth of the matter is like 2 years went by that you could have been meeting the right one. And where clients are concerned, I make the comparison because I have some clients, even current clients, I'll be honest with you, that I'm like, man, like we're not the right match for you. Like we're just not. Like we're a great agency and you may be a great business, but there needs to be a very, very, very clear um uh, what do I want to say? Like
Expectations and agenda, right?
expectations, personality, energy is the word that I want to use, but it sounds too woo. But it's like we need to be able to dance together. There needs to be a
Yes.
partnership. Like if
Yes.
we're your agency and you want to control everything, that's a problem.
Then
So
you should be the agency if you're going to control everything. You're hiring me because I
correct.
have certain experience and skill sets that you don't have,
Well,
then
yeah.
let me run with those. And yes, you can back and forth ideas. I have a similar client that I'm working with that is very strong-headed, and it becomes difficult to present ideas, right? So I completely get that. So when we're looking at this dating scene, right? And the analogy is so spot on. How do we really take that into our business and go, look, when like just knowing your type, right? It's
Mhm.
really dialing into not just the personality and expectations type of thing, but the problems that they have too, and the way that you solve them perfectly.
Totally. And the truth of the matter is like the expectations, and this is something that I include in the book, is really this idea that expectations need to be included at all times. Because if we don't know or set a clear expectation up front, we are hostage to what that person expects.
Mm-hmm.
And and I say it's the you didn't bring me flowers this week. Mike, what was going on that I should have brought you flowers this week? Well, my last boyfriend brought me flowers every week, right?
Every
And
week.
and even if it's never spoken, there's still an expectation. It's the, why do we go out all the time, or why do we stay in all the time, or whatever. And it's we end up being that. And sometimes it's trust issues.
Mm,
I end up dealing with clients on a regular basis. They come to our agency after having broken up with another agency.
mm.
So we're getting into relationships with trust issues all the time. And as
And
an
extra
example,
baggage.
all the baggage. And as an example, like I'm always talking to my team with, we need to be very clear. You're not doing anything wrong. You just didn't tell the client what to expect.
Mm.
So you're correct. That project didn't have to didn't have to end the way that it did, right? Like that project wasn't due till Friday. You're correct. You gave it on Thursday, but the client was calling me on Wednesday saying, why am I not going to review this? I don't have time to review anything because you don't get the project done. And you think you did it early. The client thinks they should have 48 hours to review.
Right.
Like literally nothing's wrong.
And I think that's the space that we're really in these days, is that there's so much opportunity for the client, the customer, to try different competitors, right? And so it's all truly, and I just read something that said one of the top skill sets today in 2025 is to handle the customer experience, right? And that's
Yes.
setting the expectations. So if we're able to set clear expectations for them, and maybe we promise to, we under deliver in our or under set under expectations in our however I'm saying it, and then over deliver, right?
Yeah.
Then it
Under
allows
promise,
us to
over
really
deliver.
super shine, right?
Well, and I think that what happens in so many situations, and I'll give you an example. I had a very tough conversation with a client last week. And part of the conversation all boiled down to the fact that she doesn't like when we deliver assets to her in design form.
Mm.
She prefers to see all of the copy in a Word document so that she can comb through the copy in a Word document, make edits, track changes, blah, blah, blah. So anytime that our team delivers a designed landing page or digital assets or anything like that, she gets very frustrated, and she barks back at us. And it's
Mm.
like, why am I seeing this? I don't want to see this. And it's almost an angry answer. And when I
Oh,
spoke
that's
to her
tough.
last week, and I said, look, here's the problem. I said, this is a chicken and the egg situation, because every copywriter in town would rather have a wireframe or a design structure so that they know how to write the copy to fit the design.
Mm-hmm.
So every designer in town would rather have all of the copy delivered in a document so they know how many words they're designing around.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a chicken and the egg issue. And I said, and often in these situations, both are happening simultaneously.
Mm.
Like it's a creation that's taking place. Like the image leads the words, but sometimes the words lead the images. And and I said, look, this is not, and nothing is wrong. This is I prefer design and then copy. You prefer copy than design. Like that, this is nothing more than a preference issue, and we need to just understand what the other one wants. And if you're telling me that you would rather see copy first, we'll accommodate. But the
Sure.
outrage that we would dare send something to you, it is like nothing's wrong. And then I told her, I said, and some of your feedback is so harsh. And I said, and I'm managing a team that I don't want them to dislike you, because if
Mm.
they dislike you, they stop working as hard for you, and they work really hard for you.
Are your podcast guest appearances leading to real business, or are you just hoping that listeners will take action? With the Profit Booster Podcast Monetization Hub, we turn your interviews into lead generating machines so that you capture, nurture, and convert listeners into paying clients. So stop leaving money on the table and get started today at profitboosterpod.com.
For you.
Mm,
And I'm like,
good
so
point.
I
And
I,
then,
I need
yeah,
to
that's
temper this.
communication skills. You don't,
Yes.
I have a friend who's a relationship coach, and she really opened my eyes to the way you ask for things and the timing of asking for things, and you put it in a way that, what, I would really love this, rather than coming back and going, well, you never give me flowers, right? It's the
Yes.
way you preface things, and I think that's a communication skill that you know the younger people going through the workspace at this time don't understand or can handle, whereas the older people in today's workspace, the I'm not even gonna quantify those, but they come in and it was always it's my way or
Probably in
the
the group.
highway
So,
kind of stuff, right?
well,
And finding that balance is important.
it absolutely is. And when I get into the expectations, my team, by the way, and I'll tell you, especially because in our age, in our industry, we tend to attract a lot of young people.
Mm.
And the expectation of a 25-year-old is very different than the expectation of a 50-year-old.
Oh, exactly.
And again, it could be a generational thing, it could be a maturity thing, it could be in anything you want to call it. But it's like, to me, sometimes I'm not setting a proper expectation either, because I'm going, well, I would love to get my team to notice X, but why can't I get them to see it? And it becomes a tug of war in many ways, because I'm like, guys, like, this is such low hanging fruit here. But what are we doing? I had a guy today came into my office and he's like, hey, we've got to shoot that video. And I'm like, sure, that video about what? He'd set up the entire thing, lighting, the whole deal. And I'm like, what are we saying? And he's just like, oh, it's the one about blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, but what is it I'm saying?
Right. There's a lot
Why?
more pre-work to it. I too had
Correct.
a similar problem where he wanted the results and I'm like, "Hey, I have a process I have to go through before I can give you the ideas."
Yeah. And so I think when it comes down to like dating your clients, my intention behind the book is, every Instagram celebrity in town and every, Grant Cardone, every whatever is, charges a fortune to give away knowledge, to try to get people to coach, and people pay it. Like and I mean, I go to Tony Robbins conferences. I get it. Like I've paid thousands to go. And for
We
me,
all
it's
have.
more of a, and for me, it's more of a, like, I go there to just kind of reset, to get away from the office so that I like, okay, I'm in a different place here.
Let me
And
think differently now.
absolutely, I think differently when I'm being engaged differently. But the reality is like, in dating your clients, we've all dated, right? Like we all started single.
Yes, somewhere, sometime in our life.
Yeah, we all started single, whether or not that ended in a teenage years or whether that ended in multiple doubles. Like the reality is like, we all dated, so we all know how to build relationships. We've all made
Mm,
friends. We've all had breakups. We've all had expectations that got dashed. We all
mm.
have been through all of these things. And maybe the online dating thing is something that resonates more with the younger crowd than the older, or maybe not. But the reality is like the skills that we've learned, what I refer to as transferable skills,
Mm.
are there. You have the transferable skills. Like when you go on a date, and there's a whole chapter, it's two chapters in fact, talking about the first date. And the one is the pregame to the first date. It's like everything you do before the first date. It's the washing the car, it's the extra time in the mirror. It's, and I laugh about, there's a whole section about what women do, how many outfits you've got to throw back on the bed because it doesn't look right, and so on. And
Yep.
then there's, and for the men, it's like, make sure you do an extra dozen push-ups kind of stuff, right? Like
Sure.
there's all of the things that you have to do going into that. And it's like, but when it comes to your clients, I see people show up for meetings or job interviews for that matter. And I'm like, when you show up on a job interview, like a first date, when you go on a first date, like you take the time, because I literally tell people that I will interview people twice because I want to see if you own two nice outfits. Like just the reality of it. Like, can you do this two times in a row? Because when you come in on your job interview, I make the
It's your
assumption
best.
this is the best you are ever going to look. And if you can't be presentable at a job interview, I assume it goes downhill from there. And the truth goes, on a first date, if I go on a first date and sitting across the table from me is a woman that I'm not going to be able to look at for the next 30 years, this is as good as it gets. Like this,
Wow.
this is the best and again, things can change, people can do whatever. But the reality is like, as of today, this is the best you have to offer. And if that's the best that you can do, I need to set my attraction level based on today. And the same thing happens in a job interview. You know how to do it on a date. Why aren't you doing it on an interview? And people are like, oh, I've just been on so many interviews lately. It's like, sure. But if you went on a bunch of first dates in a row, wouldn't you still prepare for each one of them? Because the stakes are just as high.
Exactly. And I have to say, this actually translates into your clients as well. Your first
Exactly.
impression, everything you're
Yes.
doing on your landing page or website, to the phone call, to the first client interview, to everything
Yes.
else. When, as you notice, at least in my experience, after you've had a couple of conversations with the client, they're already engaged, you already got the paycheck, everything's coming in, things start to calm down a little bit, and you're not quite as professional and on your toes all the time, but you're still doing the great work. It's just everything. Your first impression is always
Well,
the first one, the
and
best one.
absolutely. And the truth of the matter is we are always making first impressions from
Mm,
start to go. We are always making first impressions. We don't intend to all the time.
mm.
but we are always making a first impression on someone, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a new client, whether it's a telephone call. It doesn't matter. Like you and I are having a first impression conversation today, right? And it's like
Exactly.
we're getting to know each other, and of course we're doing such in a context that is supposed to be friendly and interactive because
Well,
of the
we've
nature
talked
of the
before,
meeting.
but yes.
Yeah. But the reality is like we're still having a deeper conversation than we ever have.
Right.
And that translates, like, and people pick up on that. We decide if we like each other and if we're ever going to talk again beyond this conversation, right? Like all of that happens in such a short window. And
Mm.
your customers, and to your point, we're both in consulting type roles with our types of businesses. So I mean, I'm getting, as we're sitting here talking, my phone is blowing up because a client of mine is sending me memes. And the truth of the matter is it's, I heard a phrase recently, and it was talking about how small businesses, their own inner circles tend to not be the people who support them, which is a really sad
Mm.
thing to say about small businesses and their circles.
Mm.
But the reality is it made the comment and said a client will become a friend faster than a friend will become a client. And I was
Well said.
like that's so accurate. It's like the people that I have in my client space, like the clients that I deal with on a regular basis, like they're people that it can be 11 o'clock at night and we're sharing things on Instagram because those are your people. You get to know them. You're so intimately involved in each other's lives, even if on a professional level. But it's pictures of the kids. It's any number of things. And it's like I go to conferences all year round that are industry wide, and half the time it feels like homecoming
Mm.
because you get to know these people so well that that literally it's just going and hanging out with your friends. Oh, and we do business together. So
Oh, as a
this
side note, right?
absolutely. But the skills that I've developed over the years of building relationships, and and I'll say that I've got a background in clinical psychology and so on, but it's like, but the truth of the matter is like when we talk about dating your clients, first of all, it's a very provocative title, so it kind of stops, it makes people go, wait, what?
Yep.
But the reality is like it does stop the scroll, or at least is alarming enough. Like if I go someplace and there's books on the table or something, people walk by and they're like, oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea. And I'm like, well, no, maybe you should look inside. Like, but it's intentionally disruptive. But at the same time, I will say that there's an inside space there though, that from the dating your clients standpoint, that treat people the same way you would treat your inner circle,
Mm.
and make it a relational engagement, not a transactional engagement. Like my clients are not just money that comes in every month.
Mm.
My clients are people who I am vested in their businesses. And like I check if it's an e-commerce brand, like I check their Shopify. If it's a retail brand, like I'm asking for IRI reports so I can see how things are going. And it's not because I'm driving my bottom line. It's because I take satisfaction on knowing they're being successful.
Exactly. Exactly. What a refreshing viewpoint on working with with your customers, right? Because so many people draw it as, okay, I see you as a number, right? Your lifetime value is $10,000, right? So I see you as a $10,000 paycheck and I'm going to do everything I can to get through that $10,000 rather than looking at them as a relationship and a partnership that could last a lot longer than a $10,000 relationship if you nurture
Yes.
it properly and you don't come charging in with the hard sell close or everything in the front page rather than allowing them to learn about you and engage with you over a longer period of time. You're
And
right. Some of my best clients, we've been together so long because we're friends and I am invested in their business and they see and feel that and therefore I'm there longer and can make so much more headway in my position. But I know that whether you're plumbing, right? I use these wild examples all the time, but you're a plumber, right? And you go out and you fix a guy's toilet. Wouldn't it be nice to go, "Hey, how's that toilet running? Is it still going good? Or you fixed, is the air conditioning still running properly for you?" Or, the tax person. I mean, there's a thousand different examples of just engaging beyond the transaction and building
yeah,
that relationship. And I think
I
it's so fantastic.
completely agree. And the other thing that I would say there is like with any relationship, you will have disagreements.
course.
There will be. And it's like there's this chapter in there called The First Fight. And it's like you will disagree on things. You will have campaigns in our business anyways. Like we have campaigns that don't go as successfully. We miss deadlines. Like not everything is perfect. I'm not going to tell you it is, but having something not go perfect when you're in the context of relationship means that the transaction isn't a transaction for the client either, which means there's forgiveness when our team doesn't get it right. There is forgiveness. There is a genuine
We're human.
partnership. Well, and sometimes it's human. Sometimes it's we all agreed that we would do this. I mean, with marketing's a best guess game, right? Like we do the math, we figure it out, we do our research, and then we go launch it and see what happens. But ultimately, the customer decides if it's going to be profitable. And the reality is not everything is as successful as anything else. But if our team does a round of creative that doesn't hit the mark for the client, or our team sends an email that has a typo in it, like and you know, I had a client recently where we had a couple of goofy things happen, and the client happened to come by the office one day, and we were just sitting in there talking, and he's like, "Look, here's the deal. I know you," and he's like, "Your commitment is to always do everything with excellence, and I know that." And I know that even when something, you know, goes amiss or a staff member does something wrong, and he's like, "I know you, like that's not going to fly here." You know, so even if something happens, I know you're going to clean it up. Correct. 100% of the time. You know, because we have staff that makes mistakes. You know, I can't proofread everything that goes out the door. So periodically we will have issues. And I mean, again, that's an expectations game. I tell our clients up front, by the way, we're all human. You know, if you're looking,
if you see a mistake, let us know. That's easily fixed.
well, and I'll
Spelling
say
error,
something.
punctuation.
I dated this girl last year, and I'll tell you, it's like, and I happen to know her ex-husband, and you know, we went out for a couple months, whatever, and it was like the reality is what was shocking to me, and I said this early on, I was like, she never stops talking about her ex. You know, in this horrible, he's a narcissist, he's a whatever kind of way. And it's like, I don't have anything bad to say about him. Like, I like him. We're not like close friends or something, but it's like, I know the guy, and I'm like, he's never done anything that would make me think he wasn't a good person. So I just didn't engage it, but I'm like, man, like, if all you can do is talk about your ex, you're not ready to get into another relationship.
Exactly. There's girlfriend rules that would stop them from doing that. So maybe she needs to find the girlfriend to say, "Hey, quit talking about the ex so much," right? That's a girlfriend
Absolutely.
conversation, not a
Well, and here's the deal, like, you know, that aside, sometimes clients come to me and all they do is trash talk their last agency. And it puts my guard up to say, look, like
Are you going to trash talk me when we're done?
Absolutely. Like there's always two sides to this story.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, like I can look back, and this is, again, I can look back at every client relationship I've ever had and tell you where I think, you know, why it ended, if it ended. You know, was it because, you know, we just didn't have the same energy? But I can look back at every relationship I've ever had, and it's like, I need to own what I did too.
Of course.
So that's my parallel for you, Marcia. And
I love it. Mark, this was so much fun. I love the analogies. I love the, you know, I can totally, and I'm sure the audience is feeling the same way. You can totally land on this and go, yeah, I've been there, right? And it's such a perfect parallel for life as a business owner and the relationships that we create on it, and also even, you know, the sales cycle and how we can go through it, knowing that it's not a hard sale on the first thing, unless you're selling, you know, a $9 widget, right, or a no-brainer thing. But it's a relationship that you build, and I think when you can see it from your point of view, your fun, witty point of view, that it's so much more enjoyable, and you can translate that into, that's what we did wrong, or, oh, that's what we could do better. We can deliver flowers every Friday, right? In a way that sets that expectation for the client. So good job on this. I love it.
Thank you.
So where can listeners find your book, find out more about what you're doing, and get this kind of style going in their business?
Well, the easiest thing to do is, if they're looking for Date Your Clients, go Amazon is the easiest place to find it. Obviously, we all do Amazon. They're welcome to go learn more about me at themarkyoung.com. That's THE markyoung.com. Easy enough. You'll see a lot of stuff on there because my new book is actually launching next month. It's called Radical Generosity.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And Radical Generosity is actually a book that focuses on living a life defined by impact. So it is completely a turn from date your clients, with one exception, and that is both of them, because it is my heartbeat, and that is both of these books are rooted in the necessity and the importance of fostering relationship. And that is, generosity is not just about money. Generosity is about time. Generosity is about wisdom. Generosity is about mentorship. Generosity is about investment in other people. And the only thing that we leave this earth with is the knowledge that we were able to impact the people around us. And that's where generosity, I think, has its biggest play. So probably very similar in make it relational, not transactional. So I love that. Date your clients, we say make it relational, not transactional. In Radical Generosity, we talk about, be generous in ways that are transformational and not transactional. So similar.
Yep, because what are they going to say
voice.
about you on your eulogy, right? Oh, Marcia was this great person that gave so much and did so much, and it's all that stuff. It's not how much money she made off of the deal, right?
What's interesting is there's actually probably my favorite chapter of this book, not to change the topic, but probably my favorite chapter of this book is actually about leaving a legacy. And the Leave the Legacy chapter, actually, I was actually looking to see if I could find it and give you the actual quote from it. That's interesting. It actually says, perhaps the best part about generosity is how it is remembered, not just in the moment, but in the ripple effect it creates long after we are gone. And there's a phrase in here that actually says, what will be told about you when it's no longer you telling the story?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
When I don't get to control the narrative anymore because I'm not here, what is everyone else still talking about? And that doesn't start when you're dead. That starts now.
Love it. Well done. I like it, Mark. Good job.
So you can look that one up too. Both will be available for sale on themarkyoung.com. So go there, check it out. There's links to everything I'm involved in as well. And you can pick up these two books and my other book called Lower the Bar, which is just pretty fun.
Nice job. Good job. Okay, great. Wow, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you picked up some valuable insights and actionable ideas that'll help you make your business more profitable. And I know, just taking that time and learning how to improve ourselves, improve our relationships with our customers, with our team, gosh, with our family. And what a better way to do it than learning how to build that relationship and make it last longer and not be so transactional. So I like it. So go take Mark up on his offers for his books. And as I mentioned earlier, it might be time for a fresh perspective. That's why I'm offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one powerful session, we'll uncover some opportunities to drive real growth in your business. So if you're ready to make that impact, go visit profitbooster.biz. And don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Mark. This was fun.